Hello, I'm Bob Stretch, your instructor for market research, and today we're going to look at how to quickly get descriptive statistics from a data set in Excel. The type of statistics we're going to look at today are descriptive statistics, so let's just list those out. First, we have the measures of central tendency, which includes the mean or average, median, and mode. The median, of course, is the midpoint of all of the values laid out linearly, and the mode is the most frequently seen value. Along with the measures of central tendency, we have measures of dispersion, which includes the range, made up of the minimum and maximum values, standard deviation, and frequency distribution. Now, the frequency distribution, I'm going to show you a trick. There are ways to do this that are a little more involved, but I like to go down and dirty, so this is going to be fairly simple. Let's start off with the mean, median, and mode, the central tendency. They're probably the easiest to come up with. One of the things we have to keep track of are the variables. So here, what I want to do is rather than retype the variable name and perhaps type in something incorrectly, I want to simply type in equals, which shifts us over into equation mode, and move my cursor to the title of the variable, click on it once, and then hit return. That will automatically take whatever's in that cell and dump it inside the cell that I just typed. Continuing in that same manner, for central tendency, I want to put us in equation mode, so I hit equals, and then I start typing out the name of the function we want to use. Well, the name for a mean in Excel is average, so we start typing out average, A-V-E-R-A-G, and there it appears. Simply double-click on it, and it enters in the function name, and then it's asking us with that open parenthesis, well, what range of cells do you want to get the average of? The quickest way to do this is to go to the first data cell inside your field, click once, and then use some hotkeys. You want Control, Shift, and down arrow. That will automatically capture all the rows of the data in that column. Here you see it's 1,000 rows. Now to avoid an error, click back up in the formula box and close the parenthesis and hit Enter. Now if you see, we have the mean already calculated for us. Do the median in much the same way. Equal sign in order to get the equation mode, and then start typing out median, M-E-D, there it is. Double click. One more time, you go to the first data field, click on it once, Control, Shift, down arrow, close the parenthesis, and hit Enter, and there's our median. Now we're going to use the same range over and over and over again. We could keep going back and forth, but again, I'm lazy. I want to do things quickly. So I'm just going to click, hold, and drag across to capture all the information after that initial open parenthesis. And I'm going to hit Control-C to copy that. Why is that helpful? Well, let's go over here, go into formula mode, equals, and now we're looking for the mode, M-O-D. Now notice we have a number of possibilities here. M-O-D-E, because mod is something different. If I think there's going to be multiple possible frequent values, I'm going to use mode mult. If I believe there's just one, I can use mode single. Here, because we're not sure yet, we're just going to use mode multiple. Double click that. And if you notice, again, we have the open parentheses. I click on it, right click, and paste. That's all I have to do. Now I've got all the measures of central tendency already captured. When we go to dispersion, a range is just the difference between the minimum and the maximum, but it's best expressed by saying what the minimum and maximum are. So again, because it's Excel, there's always a function for things. You hit equals, M-I-N, there it is, minimum. Double click on the function, and again, same range, so we just did Control-V and hit Enter. There you go. Minimum value in that column was 1. Maximum value, we do the same thing, equal sign to get into function mode, and then MAX, there it is, maximum, double click, paste, and enter. So we know that our values are between 1 and 7. That makes perfect sense. Now with a standard deviation, there are a few more things going on here, so we'll just hit equals, S-T-A-N, no, don't want standardize, S-T-D, standard deviation. Now notice there are a number of them. The items with the little warning sign tell you that they're legacy. They're for the older version of Excel, so we'll just ignore those. The standard deviation P, as the little pop-up tells you, is if you have all the values of the entire population. We don't have that here. We have the standard deviation S. It's a sample. So we'll double click on that. Again, paste in the range, Control-V, and hit Enter. Now I have the standard deviation. I don't like having all these extra figures on the screen because that's not really true. We don't have that depth of knowledge of the data. So I'm just going to go up and decrease the decimal, take it down to maybe 100. I can do the same thing with mean just to be consistent. And now I have the mean and the median and the range and all the good stuff I need for descriptive statistics, except for the frequency distribution. So how do we get then these frequency distributions? Well, there are all sorts of ways to do frequency distributions. They involve a lot of steps, a lot of work, a lot of ways to make mistakes. Again, I'm inherently lazy, and I've already showed you how to do this. If you've already seen my earlier video on how to get pivot charts out of data such as this, we can use the exact same technique. So what I'm going to do is simply turn around and capture this data, just like we did before. We click on the head of the column and then simply Control Space. This captures the entire column, including the heading, which is not true when we use the Control Shift down arrow key. And then simply say Insert, Pivot Chart, accept all of the variables there. Click on the variable, drag it into values, and right there, boom, in just a few keystrokes, we have the frequency distribution. Every one of the various labels and all the various counts. Now, if you have a screen capture software, you might be able to just cut and paste that as a picture. I'm just going to click, hold, and drag across this. Right-click to copy, go back into my sheet, click on a single cell, right-click, and then paste the 1, 2, 3, the values only. That's all I care about. And there you go. I now have the entire frequency distribution. No formulas to type, no problems to deal with. Boom, it's over. One of the hidden benefits in the way I set this up is once we get one column taken care of, it's very easy to go across multiple columns. I'm going to click, hold, and drag these formulas we already put in for Lifestyle 6, and I'm going to grab this little black dot on the bottom right-hand corner, click, hold, and drag one to the right, and look what happens. Now we have all the values for the very next variable over, television. This seems wonderful. But as I warned you, you have to be smarter than the software you're working with. Some of this data is now bogus. If we go back to the key, I think you'll see why. When we look at Lifestyle 6, it's a range. It's asking the respondent to look on a scale of 1 to 7. Does this describe me at all, or does this not describe me? As you're looking at this, it's a numerical chart. It is a scale that we can use. And if you remember, for scales, we can add, multiply, subtract, divide, you name it. All the math is there. Metrics have math. However, the very next one down is not, in fact, a scale or a metric value. Look at the options here. What's your favorite genre of television show? Comedy, drama, movies, miniseries, documentaries. Each one of these is a separate grouping. You can have one or the other, but not both. It's not a flow of values. So I can't have something that's half comedy or half drama. I have to pick one. It's, in fact, a nominal scale. Let's see what that does to us. If we go back and look, this is a scale value, and this is a nominal value. If I look at a nominal value, the machine, because it doesn't know what's going on, has told me there's a mean of 3.94. So if I go back to the key, that tells me that the average person likes to watch something that's mostly a movie, but somewhat a documentary. Is that true? No. And again, because it's a nominal and not a scale value. What this means then is anything that requires us to do multiplication or division or anything above that mathematically, we cannot use when it comes to nominal data. So can I do a mean? Well, that means adding all the values up and dividing by the number. Whoops, no. I cannot use that value. A median is simply counting, that's no problem. A mode is simply counting, that's no problem. A range is simply looking for a value, a max and min, no problem. Standard deviation, ooh, wait a minute, I have to do division there as well. Can't use that value. What about the frequency distribution? Well, again, that's just a count, so I can do this for a nominal variable. All I have to do is the same thing we just talked about. Highlight, insert, pivot chart, accept, click, drag, copy, paste, and it's that simple. We're done. If you have any questions, feel free to use the help screens or do Google searches to try to figure out other ways of doing it. Okay, thank you much. Give it a try.